Hello, and welcome to 6 Degrees from Cannabis. I'm your host, Tori Rerick, PharmD and holistic healer. Each episode features a candid conversation about how connecting with the cannabis plant has enhanced an individual's wellness journey. Here to honor the plant, talk about healing, and have fun. Today's conversation is centered around integration and how connection with nature facilitates that. Growing up in LA, Colin's original perception of cannabis was laid back and geared toward recreation. When Colin battled addiction with opiates, cannabis took the back seat. His experience with the plant shifted toward therapeutic support and meditation enhancement post-service in the Army. As you'll hear, because of his own life-changing experience, Colin considers cannabis to be the great unifier and now helps veterans access cannabis, psychedelics, and nature as healing tools. Keep listening to hear Colin's journey of renewed life through the compassion of cannabis and support his mission of guerrilla wellness. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Tonight we have on Colin Wells, who is a veteran, advocate, writer, citizen scientist, and founder of Veterans Walk and Talk. VWAT was formed in 2016, and Colin has walked and talked all over the country. Therefore, there are VWAT chapters all across the country as well. Colin is a veteran of Afghanistan, having served in the Army infantry. He now facilitates psychedelic and cannabis medicine spaces for VWAT members. He is a published writer and has spoken in various levels of government on behalf of veteran wellness. You can read more about his mission at veteranswalkandtalk.com. Welcome, Colin.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on here, Tori. It's a pleasure.
This is epic. What I like to do at the top of the call is pull an oracle card. I created a 420 friendly oracle deck. It's a 24-card collection of highly inspired watercolor art and wisdom. And the card that's come up tonight for our discussion is Shedding Skin. And just to share with the viewers, there's this shadowy image of a snake, obvi, and there's like rainbow glitter all across it, giving this imagery of renewing, refreshing, and revealing this new skin. So, Colin, I would love to hear how you connect cannabis and even psychedelics with the ability to renew.
Wow, that's very universal and kismet that card is drawn. It's shedding skin is something I feel like I've been doing a lot of lately, just shedding things that no longer serve me in many ways. But in particular to cannabis and psychedelics, what those medicines have done for me in particular, and it's been a long journey of exploration and still is, but one of the best things that I've achieved from it is a sense of spiritual wholeness. And that's been a definite, skin shedding transformation for me over the last year in particular, finding footing in some sense of a spiritual space is totally new for the Colin that was raised for 38 years prior. So I feel like I mean, that's just a good card for what I personally am going through, I feel. So
that's so awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. I'd
love to hear what your original perception of cannabis was, and has it shifted?
Yeah, my original perception of cannabis was definitely a recreational, something people did for fun that they could get in trouble for. But I grew up, in Los Angeles, very close to anything like that, like cannabis. It was always around. I kind of knew about it, knew of it. But yeah, my perception of cannabis has shifted to more of a medicine and more of a, therapeutic and meditation enhancer rather than something that just kind of zones you out of the moment or maybe allows you to, like, for instance, with veterans, cannabis is something that's very powerful in getting us back out of the house and into the real world. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I see veterans starting their cannabis wellness journeys smoking enormous amounts of dabs or eating enormous amounts of edibles just to kind of go out and function and be amongst people. And the thing that I've come to kind of realize about cannabis is that has its place, and it does serve well in that arena of immediate acute problems being calmed down so readily. But with cannabis in particular, as more of a meditation and affirmation and intention setting medicine, can have more profound healing effects than, say, just smoking a bowl so that you're not anxious at the grocery store. Yes. Maybe you smoke a bowl, sit and meditate on why you're anxious in a grocery store, and then the preceding trips to the store are less stressful.
Yeah, wow. I really want to get to like that bridge of like how you've come to that, because not everyone is there, right?
Right.
You've had your own shedding scene experience with that. Did you have a relationship with cannabis prior to serving?
Definitely. And during service as well, lots of cannabis in the military over in Afghanistan, and lots of fields of it, just walking around. But yeah, I, smoked weed recreationally with friends in high school and through my early 20s. And I really got into the harder stuff like opiates and things like that. So once I had gotten into harder drugs in my early 20s before the military, cannabis kind of took a back seat. Because I guess it almost made me feel too good or something. I would rather feel shitty on the opiates. So I stopped smoking weed altogether.
This is going too well for me. And so was it really natural to like get back into the cannabis after you returned home? Or I know like your whole story is on your blog. And so if anyone's listening and interested, please go read it. But when you returned home, you were back with the opiates. So what was that like relationship like in transition?
It was definitely even me growing up with the knowledge of cannabis and not having it be very taboo in my life growing up how I did. When I got out of the military, it was, a stretch of a thought to even think about going to cannabis to treat what was going wrong with me. Cause I'd gone before the military, I'd done the AA and NA routes trying to get better. And then in the military, obviously they're very disciplined and 12-step. And, cannabis was something nobody discussed in that realm of healing and wellness. So that's a big reason why I floundered around for so long after the military, trying to find a tool or a healing avenue of approach that would benefit me. And eventually, it's unfortunate, but a lot of veterans, this is the case that we go through, is we try everything until something works or we die by our own hands, basically. Wow. That's that's really just how it goes for a lot of veterans in this country, especially now.
Yeah. And I appreciate you, because this needs to be talked about.
Right. I agree. And it needs to be these medicines that are of the earth, fungus medicines, even chemical teachers, things that are synthetic that have a place, psychedelic wise, they need to be first options, not last options. Agreed. for veterans and people that are in need of help.
So how does the plant serve you? How have you found peace and wellness in cannabis? And you can even expand to psychedelics.
Well, cannabis, it certainly did. That brought me that peace. I was doing heroin and unable to find my way out of the crippling grip of opiates that I was under. And cannabis gave me that option. It gave me a way to do it that felt, feasible and something that was attainable. Whereas my whole life getting off opiates and prescription drugs in particular was something that I honestly thought I would never accomplish for a while. I thought I would be on them until I died, or even however that looked like. If I died old, I'd be on them. If I died young of an overdose, I'd be on them. One way or the other, I'd be on them. And my relationship with the plant, and not even just ingesting it, which obviously I've done for a long time. I took about a year off of cannabis until very recently, but, ingesting it like I did obviously helps me with a lot of physical symptoms and pain and things like that. But it was really the compassion and giving away of cannabis that I saw through the work I was doing that really, I always say cannabis is a great unifier, and it really unifies you to purpose. It unifies you to like-minded individuals. It unifies you into community and engagements and things like that. So that's what it did for me. It was not just the ingesting of the plant, but it was the all-around culture and compassion behind it that really helped heal me.
Totally. Thank you. And would you like to share at all about psychedelic experience?
Yeah. Well, psychedelic experiences are more, I guess, it seems trivial to say cannabis is a little more superficial. Psychedelics are a little bit more deep-rooted as far as what healing they can do. Like mushrooms in small doses can be good for pain. Cannabis is probably a little better for pain. I guess it depends. But mushrooms in a high dose may help you to process some emotion that you've been holding on for decades and decades, and then you come out of the experience and said back pain, knee pain, neck pain is all of a sudden a little better, just somatically and energetically. So psychedelics are chipping away at, for me personally, at old notions and old beliefs that no longer serve me, or acting from a mental, intuitive place rather than a heart intuition. Was something that I did for a long time, and now I'm learning to use more of my heart intuition. They all go in the same medicine kit. Psychedelics, cannabis, all these things, they work in concert with each other. So it's kind of all, in my opinion, one lane.
And so when you spoke about the transition to cannabis, I mean, what was that like in real time? Because you were getting care at the VA, and to continue care there, were you allowed to have cannabis in your system? I mean, how did you navigate that? Was it alone or?
Yeah, I definitely couldn't have cannabis in me while receiving the treatment I was getting at the VA, but I eventually moved to a outpatient facility in downtown Los Angeles, and was very forthright about the cannabis use, and they allowed it to go on. And so I was able to finish my treatment while taking cannabis with them. But the VA definitely would not have had they wouldn't have been okay with any kind of cannabis use whatsoever. Yeah, I was alone for a bit, and then advised very well by Bill and Jeff Levers of the Beard Bros Farms, kind of learning from them early on in my cannabis compassion work. And being a veteran who was healing myself with cannabis, and making a name for myself, giving cannabis out for free to veterans and picking veterans up from shelters and whatnot, I was afforded very good opportunities to go and learn about the plant and to learn about its uses and how you can use it medicinally, and incremental dosing and microdosing, and those opportunities to learn about that stuff really helped me apply what worked for myself to my own problems. So I don't say I was alone, but I definitely tried a lot of things before I found what really worked for me. I wasn't really guided and been like, you sound like you need exactly this. I kind of just tried everything. And I still do that with psychedelics and everything. I'm a guy that needs to just know what everything is before, you know what I mean?
Going in. Yeah. That's sort of how it is with cannabis. I just didn't know if you felt a certain way about going in like that with the mental health situations of veterans, if you felt strongly one way, if they should be guided. But I guess that's part of your work. So let's talk about that, because that's who you become. So how do you serve the plant?
Well, I gathered donations from reputable veteran home growers and companies throughout California, and we give that out for free to people who show up to hike with us. We also do State Bill 34 California cannabis compassion giveaways at dispensaries, which is really cool, where veterans come and sign up and they go home with a bag of medicine. And I've been doing this for nearly 5 years now. I've driven cannabis medicine all over the place to veterans in places that really needed it for a very long time, and just give it out for free. That's kind of been my thing, that it unifies people to everything that it, like I said before, community, the things that really heal us to the core. Cannabis kind of brings it all together in this way. And so that's kind of how I use the plant in the compassion work I do. It's like the best unifier ever. It just brings people to more healing and more healing and more healing.
Yeah. And so do you have like a path or a trajectory that you like offer out to these veterans, or it's just like, come as you are, come when you can? What's the vibe?
That's a good question. So we are evolving to include more, I guess, engagement in what we do. Something that's kind of naturally formed within Veterans Walk and Talk is this, you keep showing up, you earn more access to the network kind of thing. You know, if you show up for one hike, you get educated and nurtured and fed probably and things like that. And the more hikes you show up to, the more knowledge and information is passed on to you about the deeper medicine work that is available through our network. Because we call what we do guerrilla wellness, you know.
Yes.
And because it's obviously frowned upon in many corners of the country, what we do, and we want to make it as safe as we can for veterans, but at the same time, we're going to do it no matter what, because we're dying in such horrible numbers already.
Yeah.
So,
and
I mean,
can you talk a little bit more about like the nature aspect? Because it's, you know, first I saw your profile and I'm like, yes, veterans for cannabis. And then yes, veterans for psychedelics. And yes, veterans getting outside. Like it's the whole package. So can you talk a bit more about just nature and how that's healing for you and what you see?
Yeah. One of the greatest tools of plant medicines is that it connects people to the environment and to Mother Earth and to the source and to the things that are really important or should be more important to most human beings. So it's a symbiotic relationship between nature and plant medicines and cannabis and fungus and all these things. They go together. Nature, even just being out of immediate comfort is really good for healing, because it sharpens your senses and it sharpens your pride and it sharpens what you're capable of. And these things all are really beneficial to healing, especially from moral injuries or violent acts that we had to, endure or.
Yeah.
So nature is essential, and, connecting back to it in that profound way where you feel one with everything around you, and the trees are alive, and all these things that you hear cliche things that people say about their various acid or mushroom trips are all very, very beneficial, not only to Earth as a whole, but to the veteran or the person trying to heal.
Yeah.
And again, just being out of immediate comfort is really good for human beings, I think.
Right. That's something I haven't even thought about in relation to like going on a hike. And then connecting it back to like what you were talking about earlier, going to the grocery store could be its own stressful event. And, I'm sure meeting up with people that you don't know for a hike is still like fear inducing in some ways, but it's also resetting. It must be just a whole different, experience than doing your day-to-day things. And so that invitation is really amazing.
Yeah. And nothing about what we do at Veterans Walk and Talk is like, you know, super easy. We always meet at really, really early times on a Sunday morning hike. It needs to be the right kind of healing for the right kind of person, but it also needs to push people a little bit out of their comfort zone in a safe and effective way.
Yeah.
So yeah, getting around a group of people, you know, pushing yourself to take mushrooms on a hike with people you barely know, you know, these kinds of things are soul challenges that really benefit us, I think.
What's like a typical response? What's the tip? Yeah. What do people say to you after their first hike with veterans?
Yeah, honestly, it varies because the groups of people that come are so eclectic. Some are, you know, this is the best thing ever. You know, I can't wait to do this again. How can I help? How can I get involved? And others, you know, barely talk at all. Just kind of show up and hike with us. And then, you know, 4, 5, 6 hikes in, they start to really open up and be a little bit more engaging. So, but you know, we have an enormous amount of positive reaction to what we do. It's safe and effective, and the group kind of takes care of itself. And we all philosophize and talk about, you know, the nature of things and Mother Nature and God as we understand that, and all these things. We talk about all this stuff on the hikes and just kind of dig deep into anything and everything. And that's really the most cathartic part of gathering, hiking, and taking medicine together.
Yeah. Are people in your group trained for these experiences to quote unquote sit, or for any like first responder type situations?
Yeah. We don't really have designated people that are just like there to be medics, but I have, you know, field training in all aspects of that. And usually we have 2 or 3 medics hiking with us who have, you know, extensive experience and first aid kits and all that stuff. If something were to go wrong. As far as like psychedelic trip sitting, yeah, we have many people trained in that arena who are regularly on the hikes. We have a very good group of non-veterans who hike with us every time, who are very good at this stuff, so that they can kind of learn and also be there to, you know, engage and support what we're doing. You know, I've never been, when I'm running Veterans Walk and Talk, I've never been one to kind of make things any one way. I've always been tried to be right. I try to be like, you know, it's if this works here, then let's do that in Sacramento. If this works here, then we'll do this here in San Diego. But nothing needs to be just like here, just like there.
Right.
And so, you know, I kind of just let the group evolve naturally. And the best way to mitigate risk for what I do with psychedelics in particular is I just start everybody very slow, with very tiny amount, and then go up from there. And then once they're hiking with us and trusted, then, you know, they can do whatever they want. But that's the best way we've found to mitigate any risk. But we got big plans to create more networks of ceremonies and medicines, and we want to do it in the safest, most effective way. So getting more facilitators and people like that on board is something we're actively working towards, for sure.
Great. Okay. Hopefully you'll get a few inquiries after this podcast.
Yeah, I would love that.
And I like how it's not regimented. I mean, you get so much of that obviously in the military. And so to like come here and just be relaxed and practice that, living and being and just existing, like that's really amazing.
Right. We do get veterans who, you know, just this last hike on Sunday, we had a veteran who literally asked me, you know, I'm freaking out right now. I'm really having a lot of paranoia. I don't know what to do. Like right this moment, I'm really having on the trail, you know, in the middle of the woods. Mm-hmm. So those things do come up, and we're ready for it. And been doing this, you know, for long enough that we, amongst myself and the people that I trust that hike with me, have a good sense of when and where to intervene and in which ways to do so.
That's incredible. I'm so happy with that. Before the next question, I'm wondering what your take is in relationship to the VA and the systems in place for veterans. Like, what's your philosophy? Are you just like doing your own thing? It sounds like that's what's happening. Doing your own thing, supporting where you can, just going after it any way you can? Or are you actively like trying to dismantle that system or like intervene with that system? Are you like using your energy for that or?
Not at all. No. The VA has its place, and it's in my humble opinion, it's in stark contrast, and it's comparable to the country as a whole. It's wars, neglected, the problems and consequences that are coming and stemming from the wars and the engagements and all the money that we've thrown at these things is tucked away on the VA campuses, or, just no veterans are really talking about it. So it's over there. Nobody really needs to know. We know it's bad. We know veterans been treated bad, but let's leave them over there. Mm-hmm. That's my kind of problem with the VA system. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to see it repaired and become something that we can really trust. Because I know I would love better healthcare. I have great healthcare, and I would still love better healthcare. But no, I don't put my energy into actively wanting to dismantle anyone or anything in any sense. I just want to spark small change in my circle that will hopefully, trickle out into others and so on and so forth. But no dismantling energy over here.
That's great. And that's such a good approach, because I feel like that's the trouble we're having, is like so much shouting no at the things we don't want. And you're just like, let me make another avenue. Let me just get to the people how I can. So
there you go. There you go. That's more succinct how you said it. I like it.
I heard what you said. I took it in. Okay,
I like it. Yeah.
What's the question that you get the most often about cannabis, and what's your answer?
Oh man. I guess in the last year, I just only started recently taking cannabis in again because it was making me sick for a long time. Mm-hmm. Very ill when I would smoke it or ingest it. So that was the question I was getting for so long, was why don't you smoke weed anymore? Why, what does it do? Does it make you feel sick? And yeah, that's what I went through for a while there. And then slowly through psychedelic work and, working with the medicine men that I work with, the amazing healers, I've been able to kind of come out of the cannabis making me sick, and it doesn't anymore. And I'm really grateful to have it back in my life. Just got to take it slow.
That's such an amazing question and answer, because this podcast is obviously focused on cannabis. I want to shout from the rooftops all the great things cannabis does, but it's also important to remember that it's a relationship that you have with the plant, and like there are the ebbs and flows. And so you might not be consuming it as you once did. And it's important to check that and respond to it.
I agree completely. I was overdoing, trying all these different things. And I think I just overloaded my endocannabinoid system and started to get really fired up from it, and nauseous and headaches and things like that. And as soon as I stopped and calmed down and slowly came back to it, more ceremonial than I had before. Like I said, I take bong loads here and there, but intention and, why am I taking this cannabis in right now? What is it really? What is it going to do to serve me right now? Is it because I want to connect with my wife, or is it because my back hurts? Okay, well, let me just ground myself in that exact intention. Just, take the cannabis in. This thing that has brought me back to it, and I'm super grateful. I missed weed so much.
Yes, totally. I feel you. Even to smell it though is its own experience. Yeah,
I know.
Take it in.
There's no video, but I'm smelling weed right now.
Everyone take a sniff.
Yes, it's so good.
What cannabis resources do you recommend if someone I want to get into this?
Definitely Beard Bros Farms for news and keeping up to date on legislation, and all news, especially cultural cannabis news. It's a really good place for that. And they're, family to me. So definitely stay there. And then I found, there's a great movie that I'm in called CBD Nation. That's out on Amazon and all platforms. That's a pretty great resource. I would say healer.com has some really good information, I think. Can kind of get some good information, and I think it's Dr. Sulak.
Yes.
Is the one who, he's got some good stuff out there.
Great.
But, there's nothing like growing your own. That'll teach you. That's a great resource for cannabis. If you can manage to grow a few plants of your own and really, really go after that for a bit, you're going to really have a greater understanding of what this plant is truly capable of. So that's a great resource as well.
Completely. And then can you share your resources once more for the listeners?
So it's Veterans Walk and Talk, spelled all how it sounds. VeteransWalkandTalk.com. We have at Veterans Walk and Talk on Instagram, at VWAT Store, VWAT Store. That's our merch store, which is really cool. We have some really great mushroom shirts and things on there. Everything goes to helping our mission. Our nonprofit is called A Future for Veterans. Future for Veterans is based out of the Bay Area of Oakland, and is focused on food, shelter, water, sustainability, housing, agriculture, these kinds of things. So that's our main nonprofit. Veterans Walk and Talk is one of the community outreach programs through A Future for Veterans. So if you do want to donate to our cause, we have a donate button on our website, veteranswalkandtalk.com, and it goes through our nonprofit. You can get a tax deduction and everything, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
So those are our resources.
Amazing. I'm smiling from ear to ear. I'm so excited to know someone doing this work.
Thank
Colin,
you.
is there anything else that you'd like to leave with the listeners tonight?
God, I've got to tell you, I pride myself on speaking and writing. Those are the two things that I do really, really well, especially in the public space. And more, going through this spiritual and journey of finding my footing in spirituality. And more, I'm finding that I'm having more trouble relaying it because it's so personal and profound in my own life. So, I would just want to say to any veterans out there, like the healing journey, or anybody out there, the wellness journey, it doesn't just end when you have a profound meditation or realization or psychedelic experience. It's an ongoing up and down battle with all kinds of ways that it will surprise you and make you realize just how powerful you are. I thought getting to a place where I wasn't miserable all the time was the pinnacle of my healing. And now I'm realizing that I'm on this spiritual upswing of connectedness and oneness and suchness. And now I'm on this I'm like, I can't believe it's getting better from here. So anybody out there who's struggling, that's my take on it, that if you really put this work in, put this time in, it just gets better and better in ways you literally can't quantify. And
so it is. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Thank you, Colin. I've enjoyed this conversation more than you know.
So have I. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll do it anytime you'd like.
Thank you so much for tuning in to 6 Degrees from Cannabis. If you connected with this episode, please share it with a friend who would benefit from hearing it too. Tap the subscribe button to be notified when the next 6 Degrees episode is released. You can find more information about holistic healing, the Follow Your Heart Oracle deck, and what I do by visiting ToriRerick.com. If you message us on Instagram at @6degrees from cannabis, we'll be sure to message you back. Bliss be with you.